What's up, folks? Back with another reaction. I'm back with some more Magne F. And we're returning for another tune released in advance of his upcoming album, Living With Ourselves. Once again, thank you to Sophia for sharing this. And we're going to hear Look How Far We Haven't Come, which feels very Magne in terms of some of his lyrical stylings, which is to say the White Xmas Lies album had a lot of that stressful, pained, imperfect character when it comes to things which are at least officially or traditionally supposed to be more fully enjoyable and celebratory. So the idea of a phrase which is more typically heard, look how far we've come, we've made so much progress, we've gone so far from where we were together at first. It's the opposite of that. It's like, look how far we haven't come, suggesting that there's been a passage of time, an amount of experience that has built up, but very little progress made, very little road traveled. Now, whether that's between two people specifically, or indeed as a planet, as a species, maybe somewhere between those two scales, as a nation, as a representative of the human species in the 21st century, with the idea that in many cases you hear about humans going forward in time and thus learning more, treating each other better, like making progress on a number of important issues. So I feel like there's maybe a possibility of multiple scales or scopes being referenced, but it does seem, again, very Magne in terms of the character of the title and how it represents an imperfection, a darker side to an expression that is used more positively in typical context. So let's hear what Max has to say about it. This is Magne F. The track is Look How Far We Haven't Come. I should note that it was brought to my attention that a lot of his titles, or all of his titles, don't use capital letters. They're always in lowercase letters, but for the consistency of my channel in terms of the way that I label videos, I'm just going to put it in capitals. But here we go. This is Magne Furuholmen and his tune Look How Far We Haven't Come from the upcoming album Living With Ourselves.
Always on the roll, never want to improvise. Always in the know, always on the go, never really satisfied. Here we are, my morning star, the battle scar. If you think that we are done, look how far we haven't come. Always feeling cold, barely see your soul. Everyone is occupied, running from myself. No one here to help, no one here to empathize. Yes, here.
that instantly goes into a pantheon category for tunes from Mags in his solo work. I definitely think it struck me a bit stronger than the first track on the album, the title track. I mean, amazing. Number one, I love the pace of it. It has a subtle energy, meaning there's a steady 4/4 beat, but it was sort of covered or muted. It was a sort of restrained dance type of track. Ultimately, I love the sonics. There's some strings. There's some great keyboard moments. The the bass, that underlying heavy bass, also fantastic. I'm curious though. It sounds like the what was the phrase initially? It sounded like he said roaming star. Then by the end, he was talking rising star. So I feel like there might be an evolution of the concept that he's referring to in terms of the central character of the track. I feel like that could be a personification, talking about a person as a roaming star or a rising star. It could be a star as in the trend or the zeitgeist of the world at large. It did sound like he talked about the world on fire at some point, so I feel like the scale, at least, if not being singularly in that regard, is happening on multiple phases, including the largest level, and referencing humanity and the planet as a whole. Ultimately, it has a sadness to it a little bit. Certainly, there were a couple moments where I feel like a melancholy comes through. There was that great backing vocal, which I'm assuming is Mags himself. I mean, he does lean into the scratchy, sort of folksy, imperfect delivery sometimes, which I think not only fits with his lyrics, but is just, a very human type of sound. It's not this perfectly melodic, sonorous voice, but instead one that bears the experience of age and wisdom and, setbacks and renaissance and recovery, the sort of ups and downs of life. So I think his voice works very much for the type of material that I've become accustomed to hearing from him thematically, at least as far as I've picked up and people have commented. But there was a really sweet and sonorous backing vocal that sort of came up and swung around, and that moment really stood out to me in terms of just having a ear-catching, brain-arresting type of melodic sound to it. But yes, again, it was a really compelling track in terms of the arrangement and the sonics, and it sounds like there's maybe some hope there. There's maybe a suggestion that despite having not come very far, there's still the possibility that that could change, or that could actually kick into gear and something could indeed rise, which, a rising star could just be about a star rising in the sky as the Earth turns, but it could also be about something that is ascending to a better position, something that is making progress in terms of the ups and downs of life, or indeed of the species. So be curious to hear what people have to say about this one. I know it's new. It's not like a song that's been around for a decade or more, where there's more analysis that could go into it, or people have thought and talked about it for a much longer time. But seriously, the sonics on this one, brilliant. His voice, not, again, as scratchy or broken as I've heard it in some places, which, as I said, I don't mind that at all. I think it fits. But in this case, I like that it was a bit more smooth, if you will. So, yes, really top tune. Instantly a favorite for Mags. Let me know if you agree, and I'll see you next time. Peace.